Yo, 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 Big D back with you with another episode of the Big D podcast. Before I bring in my friend from the Pacific Northwest, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. Got a lot of content on there. Plenty more coming. Also, check out the Big D podcast for your audio fans on Spotify and Apple. So, joining us from the great Pacific Northwest, my friend Jesse. I'm thinking things are getting a little sizzling in your neck of the woods, right? With the Mariners in the ALDS and Geno Smith of all things.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on up here, but we are cooking right now. So it's also pushing 70 degrees, and it's usually 50 degrees and like cloudy and raining. So it's been quite the flip for us this past month. But you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy it while we have it. So that's what we can do.
Maybe you should have done that, and maybe Russell Wilson would still be cooking in Seattle instead of baking on whatever he's doing in Denver.
Yeah, right.
So, how about you, Seattle Mariners, back in the playoffs for the first time in 21 years? I think when Cal Raleigh hit that home run against, I think it was Oakland,
Yep.
to send you into the playoffs, I think all of Seattle almost cried because all your Mariner fans will have been through 21 years without playoffs and thinking, when is this going to be the year? When is this going to be the year? And then you finally made the playoffs.
It's been a really difficult 21 years, you could say. Like we've had probably in that time span just a ton of horrible baseball. Like there's been like 4 or 5 years where they've been in contention, and then like last year they missed out the day before the season ended. They missed by one. And it's kind of been kind of like a hit or miss here or there. We had a Griffey year where he came back in like 2010 and they were competitive, but outside of that, it's just been abysmal baseball. Like it's just been just awful. You watch it and you're just immediately disappointed. You're like, well, here comes another 100-loss season. So it's been nice to see Dipoto finally get the Mariners slowly on track and them actually be competitive and finally get into the playoffs. So it's been nice to see for once.
Yeah, I mean, think of all the great players you've gone through, even after A-Rod, Randy Johnson, Ken Griffey Jr. left. I mean, Felix Hernandez was a stud forever. I mean, seemingly threw the perfect game against the Rays, and you wondered if King Felix would ever get a chance in October. Unfortunately, that never happened. But now the Mariners are back in October, and baseball is blessed with so many young superstars at the moment right now, and I have to think Julio Rodriguez is at or near the top of the list because I'm a baseball nut. I love baseball more than any other sport, and this kid's 21 years old and is playing like he's a 10-year vet.
He's honestly incredible. Like he's anything you could ask for from a prospect. And he's been hyped for years. I know Kalenic, who's kind of let down a little bit. He was the prize in the Mets deal we got a few years ago, but Julio's the guy they brought up in the organization, signed him as a free agent, and he slowly progressed, and the hype built around him. So when he reached the majors and he showed up this year, you're thinking like he can't live up to this hype. And he's actually blown it out of the water where he's been one of the best players of baseball, where they're talking about giving him MVP votes as a rookie, which is just like mind-blowing stuff. He's just incredible. He's like the heart of the team. He's done everything you could ask for, and it's a joy. Like as a Mara fan, just know that. And then they signed him that 15-year deal. So basically, we have him for his entire career. So we are just like thrilled to like experience the Julio effect that the Northwest just loves. It's great.
I mean, how about 28 home runs, 25 stolen bases, and a 6 wins above replacement? Oh yeah, and you slug 509 your rookie campaign. Not bad.
Not bad at all. Yeah. So it's like, what's the next step for him? It's just, I'm blown away. Like I'm pretty much speechless with it, as you can tell. But he's just been everything you could ask for. It's great. And then you have like the veterans they've built around him. Like I know Winker's been a disappointment, but like Ty France has been consistent and very good. And then Cal Raleigh, aka the Big Dumper, which is like the best nickname in sports. He's been so good, and he's been carrying the squad down the stretch. So it's nice to see those guys. And then you have Crawford at shortstop, who's a Gold Glover. So like the offense has really like come together. But what's carried this team has been the pitching staff all year. Like the offense has been super hit or miss. They're really good at getting on base with walks and like hitting home runs. But outside of that, it's like you look up and down the lineup, it's been very like all over the place. So it's been the staff and particularly the bullpen that's carried them to the playoffs. So Tuesday's game was like the opposite of how the season has gone, and it was so great. And then, oh my gosh, so frustrating to watch it. And as soon as he brought in Robbie Ray, I was like, why would you bring in Robbie Ray? Don't bring, it's the best hitter in freaking baseball. Like, don't. And he kills lefty. And of course, he just literally blew up that baseball when he hit it. It was 117 off the bat. I was like, oh my God, that ball is just, yeah. So it's been a rough 2 days. So we're hoping Luis Castillo, who is an ace, like he's elite, like he could actually like at least get us one. So we come back to Seattle. We're not down 0-2. So that's what we're hoping for right now.
And how about Luis Castillo? Because thinking back when the Mariners got him in July, I'm like, the Mariners? I thought it was going to the Yankees or one of these teams. But, you know, Jerry DePolo's an aggressive GM. And I think he saw, especially with 2 more wild cards, 1 in each league, the Mariners got a chance in making the playoffs this year. And Castillo could be that number 1 who could pitch game 1 and game 5 of a playoff series. And by golly, that was one of the most dominant playoff starts I've seen in a long time. The Toronto Blue Jays were probably thankful that Castillo was gone after seven and third innings, because he was just nasty, throwing like 130 miles an hour, like nobody could hit it. And Toronto can hit.
Their offense is really good, and he made them look like they're a single A ball club. Like that's the talent he has. And his run on his 2-seam is just ridiculous. It's like sometimes it's pushing like 18 inches and it's going 100 miles an hour. So like as a hitter, what are you supposed to do? Like it's wild. And you even saw in the last inning before he got pulled, like he hit Springer on purpose because they pegged Julio twice in that game. So he ran that thing inside on his hands, and you saw second baseman was like, good job, and Service was like smirking, like they wanted to like send a message, because the Mariners have been hit more than anybody else in baseball by like double the amount. So they were just like, all right, we're stopping this right now. And if you're getting a guy throwing 100 like up and in on you, like that's not something teams are going to want to do even in the playoffs. So it was nice to see him just like going out with a statement on top of that.
I think the New York Mets might have a point in hit batsman this year, but
yeah. Maybe
Ron Acuna would agree if you after what happened in Atlanta last night.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's rough.
So, who do you think's the most underrated Mariner on this team? Because I mean, Rodriguez is a key offensively. Castillo's great on the bump. The bullpen's done pretty well, except for what happened 2 nights ago. But who's the most underrated Mariner?
So it's probably Raleigh, but he's getting a lot of hype now. So like he's been super good, and he's like 25 years old. I know he's technically a rookie, but he's older. But he's been the guy that's literally like the second half of the stretch. Like he's been extremely consistent. France and Crawford carried them early on, so it was those 2 guys along with Julio, and they kind of like fell off in the second half. Like France has dealt with injuries, but it's been Raleigh down the stretch who's been the guy that like they've counted on, and he's like, and you saw in the game to get the Mariners in the playoffs, like he hit it, and yeah, it's been Raleigh. Like the way they talk about him, he's very much a force in the clubhouse. Like Service loves him, and everything they say about him, he's one of the leaders on the offense.
You know, a guy who you didn't mention, but you wouldn't believe this based on what's happened, but Eugenio Suarez has been one of the baseball's most unappreciated power hitters, because I think I saw something where he's like second in home runs over the past few seasons. I'm like, Eugenio Suarez?
Yeah, it's crazy. So like the thing about him is he broke his hands and he's playing with it. And I talked to doctors, and they're like, well, if we need to reset this hand, like you're going to be out. So he's just playing with a broken hand and like dealing with it. Like he's just going the tough hand, and he's playing. Like a lot of guys probably wouldn't play, but he's wanted to get into the playoffs. Like as soon as the Mariners trade for him and Winker, like they were very vocal. Like they brought us in to win like playoffs in the World Series. So he's been out front of that all year. So it's been pretty impressive, like him playing through that injury, because a lot of guys could not play through that injury.
I mean, who's 100% in October? I don't think very many guys are.
Nobody after like 162 games. Like I think that's the thing fans don't get. Like it's an absolute grind. Like it might not be like the contact level of football is, but it just wears you down. And after like 6 months, like your body is just shot. So everybody's playing through something at this time of the year.
So obviously, with Game 2 happening today, you've got a tough assignment against Framber Valdez, who's just a really difficult pitcher. He's going to throw a lot of ground balls. What do you think the key is for the Mariners to not just beat Valdez today, but get back in the series and potentially end Houston's run of making 5 straight ALCSs?
Yeah, they've tortured Seattle for the past like decade plus. So it'll be nice.
Particularly in that juice box.
Yeah, like you saw a couple home runs that went out in game 1 that would not have gone out most places.
I think Alvarez's home run would have gone out of Yellowstone.
Yeah, that thing would have landed on the moon. Like if it would just kept going. So they both teams took advantage of like the left field, how short that is, and like ever since they brought in that stadium, like it's turned into even more of a bandbox. But the key is basically getting to him early, like working the count, which Seattle is going to be good at, because you're not going to hit home runs off of him. Like it's very hard because he's a ground ball pitcher. Like you can, but realistically, like he's going to keep the ball in the park. So you have to find ways to get on base and take advantage of those like opportunities and just get clutch hits against him, because you have to wear him down. Otherwise, like he could go 7 innings and just give up like 4 hits in a game, and you're just like, what happened? So they need the bats to come through. Just because you just got to give Castillo a little bit of run support, and he can carry you. So that's kind of what we're hoping for today. Like I'm not sure how today's going to go, but like it's about as good a situation you ask for if you're sending Castillo out. So I'll take him against like anybody, even though it is the Astros and they're dominant. But I like our chances today.
Especially if you can keep the ball in the ground, don't get the ball in the air, because with the Crawford boxes in left, this ballpark's a hitter's ball paradise. So keep the ball down, let the defense go to work, because the Mariners play good defense, and get the ball to your bullpen and hope that you don't give up 15 runs in the last inning like Robbie Ray did.
Gosh, that's just brutal. Yeah, like it's so ever since they brought up Klenic back and he's playing in left, like their outfield defense is so much better. Because Winker's a nightmare in left field. Like he just can't play defense. So having Klenic out in left field, and then you have the trio in the outfield, like it's immensely better. So at least like the defense will be good. So you're giving the defenders a chance to like be good, which they are good at. So that'll be nice to see with that.
Plus my favorite Mariner, and I'm not just saying it because he's got the best name, but Dylan Moore's playing today.
Yeah, more like he's kind of like, it's weird. He's very much like a hometown favorite. Everybody loves Demo. So like every chance we can get to get him to play, like we're all for it. So it'll like, and he brings like the speed and athleticism and defense and stuff like that. So it's going to be, and hopefully he can get a time to hit. Like that would be clutch too. So we'll see, but I'm pretty excited.
So, me, I love trivia. I love to not only test people's trivia, but have people test out my trivia. So with Seattle hosting its first playoff game in 21 years this weekend, I thought, what is the perfect trivia question for you? Who was Seattle's starting pitcher in his last home postseason game?
Oh, that'd be the Yankees. So they lost the ALCS to the Yankees 2001. And that would be, they were home. So it would have been 2. So I think it was game 5. They lost at home. They came back. I think Clemens actually dealt against us and just crushed Seattle. I want to say it's Garcia, but I'm not 100% sure.
You would be right. Freddie Garcia, 7 gave up 3 hits on 3 runs, 7 hits. Mike Mussina.
Oh, it was Mussina. Okay.
Beat you.
Yeah, I remember Pinello was talking at the time. He's like, "Yeah, we just got to get back home and win the series." And then we just pooped and we were just done. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, we just won 116 games and we're done." I was like, "Yeah, that was devastating." And then we get 20 years on top of that. So it's like, it's nice to finally get past all of that and focus on the new era of baseball.
Hey, at least Ichiro got a Rookie of the Year and an MVP that year.
That was pretty good.
Okay, so from the Mariners to the Seahawks this year, and I must say this: I didn't see Geno Smith leading the NFL in passer rating through the first 5 weeks, but Geno Smith's leading the NFL with a 113.1 passer rating, and the guy second's a pretty good quarterback. You might have heard of him. Some guy named Mahomes.
Yeah, like it's that's elite company you're hanging out with. It's really wild. Like I was very skeptical going into the year because Geno's been a backup since like 2015, I think. So it's really interesting. And he's been in Seattle for years, being the backup behind Russ. But like seeing him basically put up peak Russell Wilson numbers in his first 5 games of the year, it's incredible. He's been everything we could have asked for. He's been extremely efficient. And like you look at all of the stats and he's been good, like deep ball. His completion above expectation is like wildly, it's like the best in the league. His WPA is like, it's like every stat you look at shows like he's been truly elite. And even against the Saints, you watch like those highlights, there's absolute dimes he saw from 50 yards downfield. Like he hit Lockett in stride over a defender for a touchdown. He rolled out and there was a linebacker in the coverage and he had to throw it over the linebacker, hit a guy on target, and he hit him just exactly right over the linebacker, right into his hands. Like it's like, I was like, who am I watching right now? Like, this is not Geno Smith. This is like an all pro level quarterback. So it's been wild. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I did not expect anything close to this. So it's been fun to like enjoy the offense be really good. The defense is atrocious, but that's a different story. But at least the offense has been lights out and it's been enjoyable to watch.
Well, like the past few seasons, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are tormenting defense. Like I saw DK Metcalf making plays on Marshawn Lattimore. And Lattimore doesn't give up anything. Look what happened to Mike Evans.
Yeah, it's weird. Like Lattimore actually struggles against like quicker, smaller guys, but DK was just bodying him. Like I think DK is coming into his like prime, and you could see as good as Lattimore is, like DK is a problem for anybody. So you go 1-on-1 against DK, like it's going to be a tough day for whoever is that DB that day. So he's just super good. And Tyler Lockett, like I'll keep saying this, he's like one of, if not the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL. Just year after year, he just cooks. And especially if you're playing zone coverage, which 70% of the NFL does, and you go like to like the too high shell they're talking about, like Lockett can eat in that situation all day. So it's literally the perfect situation for Lockett to be in right now. Like teams are lining up and Lockett's just massively taking advantage of it. And that's why he's so good.
I mean, I used Tyler Lockett on my catch team DK cash team last weekend, and I'm like, how is he 5,600? When the Seahawks are moving the ball and this team's got a potential shooter, I'm like, Tyler Lockett should not be 5,600. And then he went for 100 yards, a couple of scores. And guess what he is this week against Arizona? The same freaking price.
It's fun for DFS stuff like that. Like you can see the market is not fully ready to trust into the Seahawks. And Lockett in particular, like, well, I'll just keep starting them and keep like cashing in those points. It's like, yeah, at that price, it's like, why the heck not? You got guys where it's like McLaurin who has struggled in that range and stuff. And it's like, no, I'd much rather go with a person in one of the best offenses who's been a stud wide receiver the past like 5 years. So yeah, I'd say that's a very good idea.
Yeah, would you rather start Tyler Lockett the way he's playing or Deontay Johnson?
If it's PPR, it's real close. And like, I love DJ. He's a stud. And they actually looked pretty good yesterday, but like, I'm not going to
put up what, 3 points against the Bills last week?
Yeah, he almost had like some really good plays. He was like that close on 2 of them where it would have been a really good game, but like that's football. It's a game of inches. If you don't make it, it doesn't count. So yeah, if anybody wants to start Tyler Lockett, like I'm not going to tell him not to. Like he's cooking. Go ahead and throw him in the lineup and enjoy the production.
Okay, so unfortunately, injuries are always a part of any NFL season, and for seemingly the 10th straight year, Rashad Penny's done for the year. So looks like the young Spartan Kenneth Walker will be leading Seattle's ground game. So are you excited to see what Walker can do?
Yeah, I am. As much as I despise the pick in the draft, it worked out perfectly for Seattle. And the injury basically, they had nothing behind Penny, so they needed a running back. Like I know they have DJ Dallas and Travis Homer, but those guys are just dudes. Like they're not special players. Kenneth Walker is a special player, and you saw on Sunday, like he took it to the house. All he needed was one cut, and he's got the speed to go, and that was a 69-yard house call, like no problem. So he's basically, the way I look at him from fantasy is he's going to be like J.K. Dobbins and Nick Chubb, where he's not going to get much receiving work, but he's going to be a very efficient running back, and he has that explosive ability to take it to the house. So he's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope everybody picked him up on waivers this week if you were able to. Like I know he wasn't available in every league, but if he was, like he was the guy everybody should target because he's going to produce in one of the better offenses in the NFL. So I'm very excited for Walker.
In a battle of the birds this weekend, the Arizona Cardinals come to the Great Northwest for an NFC West showdown. So what do you think? What do you expect this weekend? Because with two less than stellar defenses, 50.5 point total, I expect a few points between Kyler and Geno.
Yeah, these defenses are going to be in trouble. And I think the craziest stat I saw is Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals are last in DVOA of offense in the first half, or they're and I think maybe it's last or second to last, and they're first in the NFL in the second half. For some reason, they're able to flip a switch and they're playing incredible. And Kyler really goes into that kind of what they call like Russell Wilson scramble mode, where you can't stop him. And you see the difference it makes. Like they're incredible in the second half and they're terrible in the first half. So it would not surprise me to see Seattle get out to like a decent lead in the first half, and then Arizona comes storming back in the second half. I would expect points and lots of points. Our dude Marquise Hollywood Brown's going to go off. Like it's going to be a lot of fun. DK, they have nobody that can stop DK, and Tyler Lockett's going to cook. So it'll be a fun game. Like it'll be one of the better games to probably watch for like football fans if they're looking for points, because there's going to be a lot of them this upcoming week.
Yeah, just play. You could just play literally all the skill guys from Arizona, Seattle, Buffalo, Kansas City.
Yeah. It's a really good strategy to target players in good offenses because they're going to score the most amount of touchdowns. So if you have those key players, like if you have a lineup where you have, say you have Diggs, you have Hollywood, you have DK, you have Lockett in the flex, and then you pick like Walker as your running back and then Kyler Murray as your quarterback, like, oh yeah, and Zach Ertz, a tight end, like that lineup's gonna win you most weeks in like a regular.
Oh, that Travis Kelce guy, he's okay. He only
I forgot about him. He's pretty good. Like he somehow put up 30 fantasy points on like 28 yards. Like it's just ridiculous. Like he was talking about on his podcast, like the whole defense was like schemed against him, and even his brother, the Eagles center, Jason Kelce, he was like, yeah, he's like they lined up and they literally said they're going to take Travis Kelce away, and it didn't matter. He still was a monster. Like it's just that guy's just so good. And even though he's older, it literally doesn't matter. He just keeps doing good things. He's one of the best players in football to
watch. Obviously, before the year, a lot of people thought the Seahawks were going to tank for one of these top college quarterbacks. I mean, I'm not sure how much you watch college football, but if the Seahawks could get one of these top college quarterbacks, which one would you want?
So that's actually an interesting question. You have Stroud at Ohio State, and there's the narrative that Ohio State quarterbacks suck. So I don't know if someone wants to go down those waters, even though Justin Fields is finally starting to show some promise. So might need to take that narrative with a grain of salt. There's also Bryce Young out of Alabama. Like those are the clear consensus top two. And Bryce Young is a smaller quarterback, kind of similar to like Russell Wilson size. But he's precision, he's accurate. Honestly, I would be happy with either one just because you're locking down an elite option at the position. And it depends the offense you want to build. Like Stroud's going to be like he's going to take a little longer, go deeper down the field. Young could pick them apart like underneath. So Young's probably a better fit with this current offense that we have right now. And the way that we're running kind of like not quite a Rams offense, but it's similar in the way we're taking it. And then they're just going deep shots. So it's basically you take the Rams offense and then you add kind of the Russell Wilson element that we've had for the years. And that's kind of the current offense we have. And somehow Geno Smith is able to hit all that. So there's talk that we might just roll with Geno because at this rate, their pick's going to be too good. Like they're not going to be a bottom 5 team. So if they can't do that, then maybe they go with Geno again. And sounds really weird. I would have I would have literally blown someone up for saying like Geno long term before the year. But at this point, like you got to take it and like be serious about it because he's been that good. So I would say Young's probably a better fit, but I would be thrilled with either Young or Stroud, honestly, because those guys are elite talents. And if you get elite talent, like that's how you win in the NFL. So I'd be happy with either one. They would just have to change the offense more for Stroud.
Although everybody be saying Bryce Young's a smaller Russ Wilson.
Yeah, he's really good. So anybody that gets Bryce Young is going to be very happy. All you have to do is just tailor your offense to him, which shouldn't be too hard because his skill pretty much translates to any offense. Like his arm strength is good enough. Like he can process really fast. He's able to hit precision passing. If you do that in the NFL, like you don't have to be an elite scrambler. Like you can just pick teams apart. So like that, I love those type of quarterbacks because you're setting yourself up with such high like floor with those guys. And if they truly hit their ceiling, like then you're talking about NFL like MVP level quarterback.
So thanks for hopping on, Jesse. We wish your Mariners well in the ALDS. Trust me, with the cheating Astros in the series, I think you've got the bulk of the nation's support with you.
Thank you for having me on. We hope we can get this game today. So we'll be hoping.